You are a practicing psychologist and energy healer and a lot of different things. So why don't you tell us about what you do and all that?
My background is really nursing first,
Oh, really? Nursing? Okay.
and then I became a psychotherapist. And you and I were talking about the soul path before we came on air, and that's the journey that I really feel I've been on. That I began as a nurse. I actually don't remember ever wanting to be something else. I was very fortunate because I know a lot of people really struggle with that at 18, 19, 20 years old.
Sure.
And
What do I want to do when I grow up?
I was it was a compulsion. And I had actually been very attuned to energy as a child, as many of us are, but I didn't know what it was till way later.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you experienced that as a child that you did not recognize until later?
I would feel I would feel energy.
Oh.
And I would be able to expand and contract parts of my body.
Oh, wow.
And just play with it. And like I said, I didn't. It was as an adult. I went back and I went, "Wow, that's what that was." Wow.
Wow, that's what that was as a child.
And I would see people, and I never talked to anybody about it. I never said anything. I just, in that, again, as an adult, I looked back and I thought that was kind of remarkable that I never mentioned it. It just happened. So
Right.
When I try to make this a long story short, when I went into nursing school, again, I was compelled to go into the operating room.
Wow.
The surgery and fixing people in that way just drew me. And as compelled as I was, at the end of a year, I was done.
Wow.
And I was in a major medical center, and they had you rotate through each service for 3 months at a time. So at the end of the year, I had been through all the services, and I had noticed that I started to be aware of the person in the anesthesia room across the hall that would be coming in. And what we would do, the nurses would go in and we would set up our table, and then if we had time, we'd break and go up and have coffee and then come back down when the case started. And I started to be so aware of how frightened that person must be.
Oh, yes.
So I started going over and sitting with them and talking to them, and then I became aware that I was really interested in working with people and how they felt. And that I didn't go into psychotherapy or at that point, but I ended up I was in nursing for 18 years, and I ended up in cancer nursing. I had done a lot of training in mind-body medicine. I actually grew with the field.
Is there a mind-body medicine field? I didn't realize
It's
that.
called psychoneuroimmunology.
Oh, yes. Okay. Psychoneuroimmunology. Right. And so that's considered a mind-body medicine. I didn't know that.
Well, mind-body understanding, knowledge, awareness, and then looking at the medicine of it comes out of that theory.
I see.
And back then, the only training in anything like that was with Carl and Stephanie Simonton. He was a radiation oncologist, and she was a motivational psychologist. And they had noticed that their nasty patients died. I'm sorry, the nasty patients lived, and the nice people died.
Right. Okay. Only the good die young.
So they they started looking into that, and what they came to understand was that was reflecting what the immune system was doing.
Really?
And if you were too nice, you'd be laying down saying, "Oh, okay." And if you were nasty, you'd be, "Get out of my way! I'm not doing."
Saying what you felt.
So they developed this whole program for cancer patients and their families, and then training professionals in this multi-pronged program. And so I did that training, and then anything that came along that had to do with that field, I kept doing it.
And what was this program that helped people that had cancer to do what?
Live
to live, and how? I mean, how?
They only
did you do that?
accepted terminally ill people,
Uh-huh.
and they had twice the survival rate of the major medical centers.
Wow. Wow, that's fabulous. And
It
is
was
that
remarkable.
in New England?
Texas.
Oh, in Texas. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's around anymore because as the field grew, this was back in the 70s,
Oh, okay.
and as the field grew, more and more people started doing research and coming on board with exactly what's going on here with the mind, with the body, with healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have many more training. I mean, you can get a degree now
Right.
in
I've heard that.
holistic health and holistic nursing, or
And neuroimmunology, what's it called?
psychoneuroimmunology.
Psychoneuroimmunology.
Yeah. So, as I said, my following the breadcrumbs, I ended up having wonderful experiences and work in nursing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Wow.
was very fortunate. Again, synchronicity, I don't know, just where I was at the time. And my last job in nursing was in cancer nursing. And I used a lot of the techniques I had been learning to work with patients, and I also had established a stress management business. And because I was saying, wait a minute, why don't we teach people this stuff way back here,
Yeah, how to
so they can
handle their
stay
stress.
well,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, not that you don't want to use it with people who are ill and at the end of life, because the tools work across the lifespan.
Sure.
So at that point, I decided to go back to school and get a degree in psychology that would give me that would round out
Mm-hmm.
the rest of what I had learned, and went into a small group practice that left me alone to do my thing. They knew I didn't practice traditionally.
And what does
And-
that mean? What were you practicing?
Well, I used my training in psychotherapy, but I integrated the mind, body, and energy skills and abilities within that practice,
Okay.
rather than just straight talk therapy.